Evolve Shaman back in standard for a limited time only. Some of these core cards are actually going to be rotating with the standard rotation that's coming soon, but we've got the deck, we may as well play it. This hasn't really changed all that much, and just one note here, we actually can't play Blazing Transmutation right now. There is a bug with this, and likely the bug is not going to be fixed before the core cards from this deck do rotate, so unfortunately, powerful new card, we're not able to play it in this particular version of the deck. Everything else should look really familiar to you if you're familiar with the Evolve Shaman archetype. General game plan is we want to put minions on the board, we want to evolve them into something really big, and then we want to punch our opponent in the face. I'm thinking like a 12-12 Deathwing, or maybe a 10-10 Denathrius, you know, just something really, really big. General mulligan for this deck, we're going to be keeping the Convincing Disguise, we're going to keep the Location Muck Pools, we also want to keep Schooling, we're going to keep the Carving Chisel, and we're also going to be keeping the Goldshire Gnoll, and in some situations, we may actually want to keep the Prescience. We'll talk more about that when we get into the game. Demon Hunter right off the bat here. We're going to stick to our mulligan, we're going to keep the Chisel, and we're going to keep the Goldshire Gnoll as well here. We're on the coin, so that means we're hoping to see a Schooling and a Location. We actually do hit the Schooling here, which is really strong. So if you remember, one of the power plays for this particular deck is we play the Schooling, and if we also have the Location, we'll be able to get down this Gnoll and evolve it on turn 2. It's insanely strong. So we're just going to play our Schooling and pass turn. Our opponent actually playing this weapon kind of tells me that this is going to be the... I think it's going to be, yeah, Quest Demon Hunter. So I believe this version is going to be the version that runs 2 copies of Abusive Sergeant, of course, Lady Sathino, and then it's also going to be running... Actually, Convincing Disguise works really well here too. It's also going to be running Abyssal Depths to be able to draw those cards, but we do hit the turn to evolve here. This is exactly what we want this deck to do. And you can see we hit an 8/8 Sea Giant, so not certainly probably a low roll for the 10 drops, but it is an 8/8 minion that our opponent is going to need to address. And this damage, of course, is just going to be going face here. I assume that our opponent is going to just continue their game plan of trying to draw cards, complete steps of the quest, and actually kill us as quickly as possible. And you can see here they complete step 1 of the quest, so they're well on their way. They are going to need to draw those minions, though. Abyssal Depths is the one card that we really don't want to see. And honestly, I'm not sure if this version runs Unleash Fel. If it doesn't, then all of these Piranha are really, really good. They also have to have the Unleash Fel, and it means that it might prevent them from being able to draw additional cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay down the 3 Piranha, and then next turn, if we're able to put down an additional 3, I think we actually are just going to have enough damage to be able to win the game. Certainly they're going to be able to remove some of these, but this works to further our game plan. We're just putting power on the board to be able to hit our opponent. And hopefully, well, unfortunately, they sniped the big one. Hopefully it prevents our opponent from being able to draw cards here. Because drawing cards is how they're going to be able to kill us. And unfortunately, all of the Piranha die, but... Ooh, we can actually take a chance with the Primordial Wave to get a better big boy here. We want to go as wide as possible because we do have the Bloodlust. I think we just make the same play again with the Schooling. There's not going to be any minions here that we're really going to want to remove. So we're just going to do this again. And again, we're going to punch face. We're going to try to force our opponent to have the removal to be able to kill these minions. If even one of these sticks, then we would have lethal with Bloodlust and the Sea Giant still on the board. Again, we kind of expect our opponent to be able to remove them, but this is going to be the most powerful play. Here we see the Abyssal Depths, but likely they can't kill us this turn because they're not going to have the discounts.
Pleasure doing business.
Ooh, they do have the discounts. Sathino for 2, and then 2 Abusive Sergeants. So the question is going to be, how many zero-cost spells do they have? And it actually looks like they're not able to go in, so I think this means that we've just won the game. Unleash Fel actually keeps them in it. So it's pretty likely at this point that we're just going to be dead next turn. I think the play here is going to be we're going to take a Carving Chisel. And we are going to punch face. And then we can also just Primordial Wave. Try to get the biggest possible minions on the board to be able to soak up some of these attacks here. Probably going to be the best that we can do this particular game. Come on, high health stuff. So we hit the 12/12 Deathwing. So they're going to have to spend 2 mana just to get the Setheno on the board, but the Setheno is going to be dealing 6. I think this means we've likely lost the game here, but we're going to make sure that our opponent can actually do it. And actually, the Setheno only at 4 attack. I was expecting a second Abusive Sergeant, so they must have missed it, which is interesting. I don't know what else they could have been playing that would cause them to not have lethal here. But now the issue that we run into is the Setheno is still on the board, and we can't actually remove it. We can freeze it so that it can't get its natural attack, but every spell they play, it's still going to be able to go off. Natural attack hits for 2. I mean, Tiny Toys, maybe the Tiny Toys can bail us out. The 3/4 on the board likely doesn't do anything, so I'm going to take this trade. And then we're just going to go ahead and get down the Tiny Toys. And this actually causes them to discard a spell. Ooh, and it's a draw spell as well. So that was a really good outcome for us. Again, we're just kind of dependent on the RNG when it comes to Evolve Shaman, but we've seen that this particular deck is so consistent that it just kind of gets there. Oh, yes. And we beat the Quest Demon Hunter, who had a really strong start here. Very happy with that game. Looks like we got a rogue this time. We're going to keep the location, toss these other ones, and look for some more of our preferred cards. And not a bad hand here. If we don't get an early evolve, or potentially just being able to get out, say, like maybe a Neptulon or a Glug early, at least by turn 5, we could be in a little bit of trouble here. Just depends on, you know, what type of rogue it is, whether it's Miracle Rogue. I likely should have evolved this. That may have been a misplay. Although it'll work out just fine to evolve this turn, I think. We know we're not going to be evolving anything next turn. So I can actually take a swing and then just evolve the 1 health minion. Likely we're just going to hero power as well here. The last swing I'm going to want to save, because I'm going to want to make sure I have a minion on the board for Shadowhunter Vol'jin. Just in case we do have a big minion in hand, the last swing guarantees a minion on the board to be able to switch out with the Vol'jin here, so a little bit of planning ahead there. And we see that it's actually Jackpot Rogue. I think I should have known that. This guy really likes Jackpot Rogue. And Convincing Disguise is going to be a good pickup for us here. We're going to be able to infuse this pretty quickly because we're going to have the minions on the board. You can see with the Tiny Toys on turn 7, that's going to be pretty strong here. So I'm going to get down the Wildpaw Cavern, and then I'm just going to pass the turn. This does enable us to develop the board, but again, if my top deck is like a Neptulon or a Glug, I'm going to want to be able to Shadowhunter Vol'jin immediately to be able to get that out on the board. And that's pretty weak. And we actually do hit the Glug here. So we just do it. We're not going to get all of the Glug minions, but it's just so strong, we actually just have to do it here. It's illegal not to. And then I think we're also just going to go ahead and evolve the Vol'jin. So if our opponent doesn't have exactly like Trickster with some kind of crazy removal, maybe we just leave the Vol'jin. I'm not sure a 6-drop is better than this. The health could be relevant too if we would rather have that. I'm actually going to hold the location charge here. So, assuming our board gets wiped, we would still have on turn 7 Tiny Toys with the Convincing Disguise. Blizzard here is pretty good, but you can see it just gives us a really big Glug. And I can actually just Command of Neptulon. I likely want to remove this. We don't want our opponent to be able to Shadow Step it. And then just having more minions on the board will be good because it's going to make our Glug bigger and bigger. If they don't hit specifically some single target removal, Glug is going to win the game. It is going to disallow us the Tiny Toys Convincing Disguise play next turn because we're going to be overloaded, but I still think this is going to be the way to go. So we're just going to make it happen. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this totem back down as well. Trying to think if there's any reason why I wouldn't want to be board locked. But I think I still just go ahead and get this down. If they replay the Blizzard, we have a few different minions that are going to die. That's going to buff the Glug. This gives us an extra attack on the board. Yep, I'm going to willingly board lock myself here. And we'll find out if our opponent has a way to be able to punish us. I was going to be board locked anyway because I don't get the 3-4. It was probably better to hold this now that I think about it, not paying attention. I did not actually get the 3-4, which would have been better. And our opponent just kind of really struggling here. Trying to find ways to be able to stay in the game. And again, we do have the evolve. I think now we can evolve probably our 5-drop. We're going to draw some cards. It's going to put some 2-3s on the board for us. And we hit a Goldshire Gnoll, both of them. Can't actually play them. Don't want to evolve the board just because of how big the Glug is. So we're just going to take the evolve on the 6-drop. We hit a 3-7. And in this particular case, I'm just going to pass the turn and not board lock here. So it was definitely a misplay that last turn. I would have been better off to have the 3-4, even though it would have been frozen by the Blizzard. And then this will allow me to potentially play a Goldshire Gnoll that has Rush if I need to on the next turn. Assuming that they would play like a Blizzard or, you know, whatever might happen. They're going to replay the test. It's going to be another Blizzard. Our Glug just continues to get bigger, so they're trying to buy time until they can actually remove the Glug. And so far, they're doing a really good job at it. And we see the Finley here. So we really want to remove the Test Greymane, if at all possible, so that it can't be Shadow Stepped again. I do believe we're just going to be playing a Gnoll and the second location. Unfortunately, we're just not drawing anything that can remove the test. They are going to have a potential another Shadow Step. We don't have to worry about the Shadow of Demise though, because of the Finley. We know it wasn't in their hand to be able to copy. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to trade into the guy that can potentially create something for our opponent, and then we're going to hope to evolve into something with Rush here to be able to remove the test. Well, that was anticlimactic, but it does still remove the test, so we're happy about that. And we'll just go ahead and totem here. Should have plenty of mana to be able to play the Chisel next turn. This allows us to hold a card in hand to be able to make this Goldshire Gnoll cheaper. And again, our opponents, they're looking for like Contraband Stash. I guess destroy random minions is a way that they could potentially remove the Glug. But assuming the Glug is actually removed off the board, then we still have the Tiny Toys Convincing Disguise to make another big board. So pretty interesting that our opponent, assuming they hit it, if our opponent's able to remove the Glug, they did a really good job in being able to hold on long enough to remove the Glug, because this has been on the board for quite a while. And you can see here they do actually manage to hit it. They've used a lot of their resources though in order to do this. So now we just make exactly the play. We can equip the Chisel. And we're just going to go ahead and swing... face here. Then we'll get our Tiny Toys. And 2 Rush minions. Honor Kill, gain Wind Fury. And then we are just going to evolve one of our 5-drops here, and then we're going to evolve everything with this. We'll evolve this guy over here. Go ahead and get down our Convincing Disguise, and then that's actually going to end our turn. So again, we have a big board here. We do potentially still have like a Bloodlust top deck to be able to end the game, but our opponent, again, really was able to piece together a way to not die to the ridiculous size Glug. I think they had Blizzard 3 turns in a row, created Blizzard, and then tests, Shadow Step tests. So they are still going to have access to Contraband Stash ×2, potentially ×3. Which again is just going to be blizzards to be able to freeze our board here. So I've noticed that games against Jackpot Rogue tend to drag on quite a while. If your opponent gets any kind of good luck off of... Ooh, they lost Scabs, which is really good for us. But again, we have a blizzard. Our board is going to be frozen, which means we're not going to be ending the game this particular turn. We do top deck Bloodlust, though. We're going to go ahead and just get down our Gnoll, and we'll evolve once again like this. And we'll give it back to our opponent. So now they need either second Contraband Stash, or they need to have the Shadow of Demise with the Contraband Stash on it. Or they need to randomly generate something that's going to clear this entire board. We do still have a couple of more big boards in our deck. We're just going to have to see if our opponent's able to do anything here. Really, it feels like if they can't clear the board, they have to have the Contraband Stash. They do. Potentially, they are going to have one more. It also is... Oh, they discarded the Shadow of Demise, so... It feels like we're getting there, but we're starting to come to a point where we may not have minions on the board to actually be able to Bloodlust to finish our opponent. But they're not going to be able to replay any more of the cards that they have played, so they're kind of dependent now on being able to create new stuff to be able to kill us. We want to draw here. And this is going to draw us Neptulon. I mean, we definitely just go ahead and play it. It's only 1 mana. It is going to put 1 minion on the board. And we can go ahead and play our Schooling here as well. And I think I want to remove these. I don't know. I mean, both Shadow Steps are gone. Shadow of Demise is gone. So I can leave the 1/2. I want to remove the 5/1. I probably don't take the 5 damage here. I'm going to go ahead and swing face. And then I'm going to go ahead and just play one of these guys to be able to remove this. And then again, I think about board locking. I don't think I care in this particular situation. Next turn, I can use the Evolve off of this, and that's going to free us up the board space anyway, if we need it. And really hoping to just be able to close this game out. I feel like our opponent's been able to hang on really, really well this game. They just kind of put themselves in a position where we can't kill them because of the number of blizzards they've been able to replay here. They do still have some randomly created cards. They could clear our entire board. Hopefully we have enough left to be able to win with Bloodlust. And certainly they're going to have to kill the Loch Halar here because it has Wind Fury. It's going to kill them solo if we're able to Bloodlust it. Although not anymore because they've been able to heal. This is an absolute shenanigan game. Jackpot Rogue and Evolved Shaman. And our opponent can still be hitting removal, like 3 damage remove stuff, destroy random minion remove stuff, so highly likely I think that they can remove at least 2 more minions with the Potion Belt. Destroy 2. And then they have Arcane Defenders. So, let's see, 16. Yeah, we still have lethal just with the Neptulon. So you can see here a bit of a struggle against Jackpot Rogue. I'm sure that's a position that you've been familiar with. But we are able to get there. Evolved Shaman's still a good deck. Again, shenanigan games, but if that's what you like, you can definitely climb with this deck. But remember, short term only. It's going to rotate from standard soon, some of those core cards. That's going to do it for the video. I'm Uncorrupt. Thank you for watching.